Hello, hello.
How is everybody? Happy Monday. I'm I'm excited to be here. So thank you for joining me, Patrick.
Yeah,
And
of course. Thank
well,
you so much for having us on this one. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. I was saying right before we started, it's so different like being on this side where I get to come into somebody's live and actually teach and have fun. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm excited. And I recently did a puff project
Hmm.
and I have a pile of things that didn't work and a pile of things that I thought worked. And I thought, you know what, let's just go right to the source.
That's perfect.
And I'm excited. Let me show the first one that I did, and then we're going to
Yeah.
jump in. So this is the one that I made for the
Okay.
Cricut Adventure. So if you guys are not coming to that, the summit is later this month. But I have on one of them that didn't really work. The pink is a little bit wrinkly, so it's off camera, so it works. But and it's a comfy shirt, so I'm still wearing it. But
For
I thought
sure.
let's dive in to everything puff vinyl. And the fun thing is that we do have a giveaway, so make sure you stay around. Make sure you're listening for the cue on how you enter that.
Hmm.
But do you want to just jump in
Let's
and
dive in.
okay?
All right, let's have some fun. Well, first off, thank you guys so much for having us here, Caesar, at this, just kind of a impromptu promotion for the event, but also real world education for you guys, which is a really, really fun. So not only if you get yourself involved with the event that Shelly's going to be a part of and teaching an awesome class, but now you got kind of like bonus content. That's pretty cool, I think. So today we're going to talk about all things puff. Now, I know that you said that you had a couple of mishaps when it comes to puff. So what I'm hoping to cover in today is not only what is heat transfer, or I'm sorry, what is easy puff, and then we're going to dive into what is easy puff metallic. But also let's dive in some of the application methods and ways to apply the puff to get not only the best result, but also some things that may or may not work that you have at home. So I know that for Shelly has a certain different kind of heat press than I have, and I've even brought in a handheld press just to show you the differences of what happens to not only your regular puff, but potentially your metallic puff when you're doing it. But we have a ton of people, and I feel like I'm taking over now, so I'm so sorry, Shelly. But we have
No,
a
you're
ton of
good.
people, not only on Shelly's side, but on our side here that are in the comments. So feel free at any time to ask those questions. And I got Anna and Adam back here. And I know Rebecca's hanging out in the back over there. So we'll make sure that we get all of those questions answered as we get through this. So ready to kind of hop in?
Yeah, I think so. It's
Sweet.
like, yeah,
Okay.
I love that. Put your actual questions in the comment because we're here to make your puff vinyl fun.
Yeah, that's
And
it. We're
there was
here to
there
make
was a
Puff
little
Vinyl
pause.
perfect.
Yeah, there you go. So
All
let's
right. So the first things first, I think what we should do is we'll hop on the overhead right away. And I just want to explain what Easy Puff is and kind of how Easy Puff operates itself. So we have these great marketing tools, these little pizza box pages here at Caesar that we can kind of put a little sample of every single one of our materials. So as you can see, although I know the black and the dark gray usually are a little bit harder to see on camera, but there are 21, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors of puff, easy puff heat transfer. And then we also have some other puff materials here as well. I'm going to hide the QR code for anybody watching on their phone because I know it'll try to pop it up on your phone to press. But we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different metallic puff colors as well within the Caesar lineup. But what exactly is Easy Puff? So Easy Puff is a puffable heat transfer material. The material itself does start out flat when you are cutting it. So it works a lot like if you're familiar with an Easy Weed or even an electric here by Caesar. Works very similar to that where it is flat on the carrier. You then put it onto your home cutting system, whether that's a Romeo, a Juliet, a Cricut, a Silhouette, or any other cutter that you have, because it is a universal material. But you're also able to cut this in reverse or what's called mirrored. And we'll show you an example of that here in a moment. But then what we'll do is we'll weed out all the cavities of the material itself or all the space we don't want. And then we can go ahead and flip it on over and heat apply it to get a really, really beautiful press every single time. So with that, Easy Puff does apply to a few different garment types. And this is also important when talking about puff. It does apply to a cotton, polyester, and cotton poly blends, which are a big deal, especially when you are looking for a little bit more of a breathable material to wear, but you don't want necessarily a heavy cotton or maybe a polyester, maybe too stretchable and breathable for you. You kind of get in between with some of those tri-blend tees and 50-50 you're able to heat apply the puff onto and get a really great result. Now, just to kind of cover the application instruction, just because we'll get into this here in a minute, but I thought that this was a great opportunity to show you guys over on the Siser NA website, so SISERNA.com, is where you can actually find all of our materials here, but in particularly, we're going to look at the puff page, and all of our application settings are right there and available for you right in front of your eyes. So with that, with Easy Puff today, we're going to apply a design around 280 degrees. We're going to apply it for about 8 to 10 seconds. And as you can see, this is what is considered a hot peel product. Now, the big difference for anybody out there between a hot and a cold peel product, a hot peel product is something that as soon as you lift that heat press up, you can go ahead and tear that carrier off. A cold peel product is more of like your holographic type materials, or some of your glitters may be a warm peel, as you may have heard as well. That's where we need to let the garment sit for a couple of seconds off of the heat press or on something cooler, so we can cool down the adhesive of our material so it'll adhere to the garment and bond to the fabric, but then it will also release from that carrier sheet that you'll have that holds your material into place when you first get started. So with that, I think what we can do is I think we can actually heat apply some of this puff. If we don't have any quick questions right now, we can heat apply some puff, kind of talk about the do's and don'ts of how to use this product, and then we can kind of move on to metallic puff as well. But as a secondary plug, just up front in here, is if you are looking for more opportunities to learn about not only Siser materials, but also the world of Siser, you can definitely, number one, any event that Shelly is either running or a part of is a great educator in the industry, but also we are doing what we are calling Siser After Darks as well, which are just coming at you multiple times a month so that we can get very, very specific into some of these materials and how to use them. So if you haven't already, definitely check that out by following us over at Siser. But all of these events are really great to learn from. So let me grab a piece of puff here. And I kind of want to show you the difference right now before we hop in of what puff can look like. So as you can see, probably can see as this little wireframe is that this material is actually purple. And just looking at it on the overhead, it obviously looks like just black heat transfer material. Now, the reason being and why this looks the way that it does before we go ahead and actually puff the material itself is the fact that all of the color is extremely saturated into the material, because as it puffs, it actually loosens and it will start to spread out or thin out that color, which will give you more of the natural color. So if you ever do run across any type of puff heat transfer vinyl, make sure that you check the name on it. It is probably the appropriate color. It's just sometimes some of these materials don't identify themselves on the carrier, but once you actually cut it and apply it, that's when you really get to see the rich color pop through. So I'm going to go over onto our heat press, and we're going to do a simple application with this purple puff here. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my shirt. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to give it a quick pre-press. Whoops, should probably turn on my heat press here. There we go. All right, we're going to have to give this one quick second. So we can go over some questions, or I can explain really quickly on using the home iron itself. So while this is warming up, because remember people, before you start a live, turn on your heat press ahead of time. What we can do is
it
we
really
can do
helps with that puff factor if you want to get.
You know what? It might help a little bit to have some heat, but that's actually a good point, because not only, as you'll see on the puff applications, that it is a 280-degree press for about 10 seconds or so. It does require heavy pressure. It requires pressure to be a little bit higher than what is like what we considered standard. Okay, so that is another reason why with certain presses like a home iron, this might not be the best for. I want to show you an example, but with an easy press or a glorified bigger home iron, sometimes pressure, sometimes heat can also play a factor in getting a really, really clean puff. Let me just double check. Okay.
It is.
So
yeah.
Do we have any questions?
I do. Yeah. Actually, I have one, and then I think we do have a couple, but
cool.
How important is it to make sure that your garment is washed before you start? Because I feel like I'm kind of lazy in that aspect, and I just want to grab it and go.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I tell people all the time, and for me as well as a business owner and making t-shirts, I like to pre-wash everything. However, Pre-washing is not necessarily as important as pre-pressing your garment. So you can forego pre-washing. You don't have to throw every single garment into a washer and a dryer to make sure that you get all the extra dye and pigment and stuff out of it. But what we do want to do is when we get over to the heat press, we do want to make sure that we do a quick pre-press. And what that does is, as many people have probably heard both of us say on many occasions, number one, it allows all the additional moisture, because remember, shirts are dyed in manufacturing, and they're also preservation chemicals are put in them inside the manufacturing process. So what we want to do is we want to kind of gas out or get rid of a lot of that moisture, which causes our garments to look a lot fuller as far as looking at them at face value. What I always attribute is most people know the first time you wash a shirt that's cotton, what does it do? Shrinks all the way down. So what we do during the pre-press phase is just like the washing phase. It'll help to also shrink that garment down to a more natural state, so that when we are layering in between, we can ensure that we have a really solid press every time.
Oh, that's good. I always thought we did the pre-press so that it was hot when we put the vinyl on there, but it's really not about the temperature as it is about the moisture of it.
So yeah, and I'm just peeling this just to kind of show you guys that this is very much like an easy weed, where it's a really thin, easy product to peel.
It does weed very well. I love that.
Yeah, weeds very well. So yes, you're correct on that. That when we do a pre-press, it does help. However, the big point of the pre-press is really to get, again, that moisture out of there, allow your garment to shrink back down. When we are heat applying, let's say like a Brick 600, which unlike an Easy Weed is a really thick product, you may want to do the pre-press, because that heat activation will start to activate that adhesive, because obviously with the material being so tall, it does take a second for that heat to actually penetrate all the way down to not only the adhesive level, but then the garment level to actually heat apply. So you are correct. If you do have anything that is a thicker material, or any products that we have that's considered a quote unquote cold peel product, so like holographic, glitter is a warm peel, brick is a cold peel product, Strip Flock Pro is a warm to cold peel product. Those are the ones that, yes, that pre-press also helps to start adding some of that heat to the bottom platen, because as we know here too, that rubber bottom platen of your heat pad, that rubber pad also absorbs some of that heat, so you can start the application kind of from both sides of your material.
That's good. And I think there's probably some people watching where their minds are probably racing and they're writing stuff down, but just go to Siser's website and they have PDFs of this. And I print them out and I punched a hole in the top, and then underneath my heat press, I have a little command hook and I hang them on there. And then I just always have it right there. But somebody had put in the comments, and I lost it here, but it said, make sure you always mark or label your vinyl. So I found just an extra box. This is mine. This is an amazing pan, by the way. But all my puff vinyl is in this box, so that I don't accidentally grab like a scrap to do something, and then it ends up to be puff vinyl, and maybe the rest of the design is not. So that's a nice way to organize it. But
absolutely. And to your point too, if you go over to the Siser NA website, under resources is where you can find all of these printable style documents available for you. But every single page, whether you're on the cutter page, the software page, tool pages, the material pages, all of these are really, really, really rich with information, so that you guys have easy things that you can print out, keep at home. One thing that I really love is I love our application chart. So underneath all of the application settings, there's actually a printable PDF that not only shows you all of the Siser materials, what exactly they apply to, and then also time, temperatures, and pressures for everything, as well as things like your cut settings. Every single cutter, whether you're utilizing our system or you have a Cricut, a Silhouette, a Brother Scan and Cut, I believe it's Roland and Graphtec are also on that chart too. So something that's awesome, not only to keep by a heat press, but keep by the cutting system. Keep by your cutter in your, whether it's in your home office because you're doing this as a hobby, whether it's in your business and it's a shop and you have multiple employees that may be using that equipment, throw a cheat sheet for them. Make everybody's life just that much easier, you know, with the power of Siser. Sorry, that was like a weird plug that I had to tie in at the end, but I didn't know what to say at the very end to cap that off.
It is good. And normally when I'm doing heat, when I'm doing HTV, when I'm doing anything with vinyl, you know, either vinyls, I usually just pull up your site and it's right there. But I love how detailed those PDFs are.
Yeah.
Then you can dive in. So whether I'm using an iron or I have the HTV rod, it's lots of things.
I like it. Well, you know what? Maybe we should do that, because I'm right now, I'm at 226 degrees. So I got a couple seconds here, a couple minutes here. before this is up to temp, but maybe that's what we do up front. Let's address the elephant in the room that everybody's going to ask. Heat press, home iron, easy press, HTV Ront press, Cricut auto press. What do all of these mean, and how do we kind of fix it or figure it out? So you have some results. I want to let you go first. You have some results, obviously, with the HTV Ront press, and I think that we can find some solutions to rectify that.
Yeah. So when I started, I was messaging them. I'm like, I could get this to work. So it doesn't always work for everybody either. So it's always good to test it. But when I did the design for the Cricut crafting adventure that's coming up, so you get this free SVG with it. You can see this, and this is that's the bronze. It's so pretty, and look at how perfect that puff is. Now,
love it.
It doesn't always turn out that way. We're going to talk about a couple other things too coming up. So I tried layering, and look at that. I didn't read, so I pressed. I pressed the white after I pressed the green.
Oh, did you? Okay.
So it got.
That's all right. We'll find a solution for 2 color presses here in a second.
Right. So these are kind of your whatnots to do, and then this one actually, the little pumpkin had lines in it.
Okay.
So we had kind of briefly mentioned that, but you have to have the right design.
Yeah.
Otherwise, puff vinyl won't work.
Yes. Yeah. So that's actually a really good point to mention just while you have that one up. So if you do have any designs that have a little bit thinner line work to them, and I think that pumpkin design was actually perfect. So let me hop into Leonardo really quick, because I do want to pull up a page and see if I can find a pumpkin that we can use, so I can really show kind of the spacing or the example of how to do that. But when you do have really fine lines on any of your design, puff will tend, and remember, puff is also puffing on the shirt, so it has tendency to close some of those cavities. So we really have to think about our designs as we're making ones to ensure that the gaps and the spacing in between those designs are a little bit further than even what our brains normally tell us to do with any regular heat transfer vinyl. But that's all to ensure that once we actually get to the application, that those cavities don't close up too much on us.
And it was okay on my pumpkin, because you can still tell it's a pumpkin. But when you have words, this is all what not to do. You can see like the F's are starting and the S is starting to fill in. So, and then this is a printed vinyl that I got like 20 years ago, but 15 years ago, but it still works.
Perfect.
So that's one thing we should even talk about too, is fonts.
Yes. Yeah. And then font, very much font specific. So just kind of going on the example of what you had with a pumpkin, I'm just going to pull up that, because I feel like those are really easy to kind of configure the lines in between. But on this particular one, I'm just going to ungroup all of these individual pieces. So with a normal heat transfer material, this design overall, all of these little cavities may be perfectly fine for what we're looking for. But as we know, with a flat heat transfer, what we see on screen is what we get on the garment. With a puff, because it has tendency to heal, we need to exaggerate some of these points a little bit. So I may pull these 2 pieces of the pumpkin, and I'm just going to drag these out ever so slightly, and can kind of continue that same process throughout this entire design, so that I know once this actual puff starts to take effect, and we start to heal that material, what we're going to see is that these cavities close up and look similar to this side of our pumpkin, or this half of our pumpkin, if that makes sense. So again, when we're doing any type of design work, we just have to make sure that we take an account for the fact that puff will heal a little bit, or will kind of close down some of those cavities. Now, to your point about obviously text is a big one, because I can put hello crafter, and this type of font may be perfectly fine to use for puff. But if I were to take this same exact word and do something maybe more in a script font, although I'm not going to, not capitalize everything for the sake of the conversation. But as you can see, there's a lot more script and there's a lot more cavity rich. To close
and
down.
So many thin lines. Sometimes I think not only does it fill it in, but I think sometimes the thinner ones just get lost.
Yeah, and remember too, it's also for anybody out there watching, when you are working with any type of text, or thin line work, it really just comes down to knowing what that healing percentage is, or like knowing how much it's going to close down those cavities. But also for some of those thin lines, you maybe get some spots in your design that don't puff at all, because there's not enough of that puff material that's really touching the garment. that may work really beautifully for like an easy weed to get really, really fine line work. But when it does come to a puff, remember, part of the reason why a puff material works is it's not puffing directly off of the garment, if that makes sense. What is actually happening is the garment is being bonded to the fabric, so there's no gaps or hollow points in your puff. But what's actually happening is your puff is curling the fabric or stretching the fabric around it on the bottom side so that you can get that puff effect on the top of your garment. So if you ever do you work with puff at all, turn your garment inside out and you can kind of feel the impressions of those cavities where the puff is kind of like healed itself and then created that puff.
I have to look at my shirt now.
Yeah. Take a look at the back side of it.
Okay, I'll show you guys this one, but you can even see it.
There you go. Yeah, you can see it really, really good there. It almost looks like a debossing.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that one is a very thick. And I actually thought this thicker bars, I thought that was going to be harder to puff, but that was easier to puff than when I tried to do the text at the bottom or the little heart.
Yeah, that's where you usually lose it a little bit. Yeah. Well, I got my heat press is up to temp right now.
Ready to go? Okay.
Let's
do press and then we'll jump into a few questions if that's okay.
Awesome. So like we just talked about, I have my garment and I'm just using kind of a test shirt for this one for today, but I have my garment on the heat press. The first thing that I want to do is I just want to give it a quick pre-press. And this can be anywhere from 8 to 10 seconds or so. As you guys can see on the timer on my press, I started out at 15 seconds, but that's also because I'm lazy and never change the time. So I just kind of count it off in my head. But now to Shelly's point, this is super hot. So this will actually help on thicker materials like a brick or a strip flock or a holographic to start heating up the adhesive side of our material. And this is kind of the same case. So I'm going to go ahead, take my purple puff. I'm just going to set it down there. Now, here's a big pro tip when we are using puff. Parchment paper is not your best friend, or I'm sorry, Teflon is not your best friend when it comes to easy puff. And the reason being is Teflon holds a lot of heat, which can actually over scorch your puff material when we're working with it. So it's best to use either a parchment paper or I just use like a craft paper, which we sell these at Siser too, but we just the regular craft paper that you can buy in a sheet. This right here will disperse the heat a little bit better for us. It doesn't hold it in so much like the Teflon will do. And then I'm just gonna simply heat apply this in one press for about 10 seconds or so, 8 to 10 seconds. And then from there, we'll be able to hopefully get a really beautiful press out of this one. There's 10 seconds. Let me go ahead and remove that. And then we're gonna go and peel that off. And just like that, we were able to get a really, really nice clean puff. So I did add in the purple, and then earlier we did it actually in the forest green. So let me see if I can get real close to kind of show you what that puff looks like off the shirt. There's the forest, and then there's the purple. But as you can see right here, for the purple, as I start to get closer, you can see that the color of the purple is actually there, as opposed to when it's on the carrier, it very much looks a lot darker on the carrier itself than it does once it's actually applied. So there you go. Little puff action for you. Yeah. So that right there is at its most basic. That's how you operate, how you press puff, and how you prep your environment to heat apply easy puff design.
Okay, so that is puff. That's not the metallic puff. So we're going to show you that one too. So yes. just to be clear, there are different instructions, and I ruined part of my shirt. I didn't read.
That is okay.
Thought, puff vinyl, and I went to town, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute.
All right, well, why don't we do this really quick? While we're on and the heat press is at 280, because I got to bump it up just a little bit for metallic puff. Why don't we go ahead and I show you how to do two separate colors in one application, and then we can kind of move on to the metallic puff. I'll be able to bump up the temp, and then we can kind of show that process. Does that work?
Yeah, we do have a quick question, and it
go ahead.
Chris Brown says, is it better to do 100% cotton or cotton blend, or does it matter with the puff?
I don't find it to matter much. Here's what I will say. When you're dealing with a heavy cotton, remember, as Shelly kind of showed here a moment ago, is that the backside of the actual puff itself bonds to the fabric, stretches it to really get a nice puff over. What I'm using here is just a regular cotton, but if you are using a tri-blend or a softer cotton t-shirt, even if you're using like a 50-50, a tri-blend, whatever it may be, that fabric being a little bit thinner and a little bit more pliable may actually give you a better puff. It could hinder your puff as well, but it may give you a slightly better one because there's more room for the material to mold, as opposed to like a really heavy cotton may, same with like canvas. If you're doing canvas, it's dead in the water. You're not going to be able to get a good puff because there's really nothing for that puff to bond to. That makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. So these ones that I did, so the one I'm wearing is 100% cotton, and you can see that the rays are not quite as embossed as this one, and this one's 50-50.
Okay.
But this one is a lighter t-shirt than what I have on. So that was
yeah. It's typically if the material itself is a little bit more pliable, that's typically when you're going to get better results.
Like this one's thinner, so it definitely showed up better.
Yeah. For sure.
Desiree's asking, does it show up right away, or do you have to wait till it cools down?
So great question. You're going to be able to see it a lot better with the metallic puff than the regular puff. Sometimes a regular puff on camera, they blend in. The metallic puff, you're going to see that it does puff right away on the puffing press, which we'll get into. But when it comes to regular puff, and also Desiree, no silly questions. This is a safe space. We ask those questions. We love it. But with regular puff, the actual activation of the puff is happening during the press itself. So by using heavy force, it's like right pressure makes diamonds. So by using heavy pressure, you're allowing that puff to start to cook and expand. And then once you lift it up, that puff will jump up off the shirt. Once you peel that carrier, you'll be good to go.
Okay. Is butcher paper the same as craft paper? I don't think so.
No. And the only reason why butcher paper is not the same, or what's common that you'll see they'll wrap like fish and meat at the meat market, is what you're referring to, is that it has a wax coating on one side of it. So with regular craft paper, it has 0 wax coating on both sides. Butcher paper has that, which has tendency to either melt under the press or could affect or damage your shirt and or your actual design itself. So it's always best to try to use craft paper, or just go to Dollar Tree or Dollar Store or Dollar Mart or whatever the dollars they're called now. Go there and grab yourself just some cheap parchment paper on the roll. I usually grab, these come in 20 square feet, really cheap, easy, from the dollar store. And I use these all the time in the studio for lives. So,
and you can reuse them too, right? So you don't have to. Yeah, it's not like you're using one per sheet. And actually, when I pressed mine, you were talking about the pads. I just folded it, a pile of butcher paper, and then I folded it. And that's what I had to put under my metallic to get it to work, because my Easy Press, it doesn't have the adjustment for the pressure settings.
The adjustment setting. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is what I'll do is on the same exact shirt, let me go ahead on the overhead really quick, and let's actually press one using the Easy Press, because I also want to show the differences in presses. Now, I know you have the HTV Ront press, which is the auto one, and great press, by the way, for standard applications. But when it does come to some puff materials, there are some little tips and tricks and things that you got to know to kind of make it work. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to weed out really quickly this purple puff, which take me a couple quick seconds here.
Yeah. We probably have a question we can pop up if we want to chat while you're weeding. Let's do that.
For sure. Let's do it.
I'm going to throw one up, Rebecca. Is there an app that has like all of your settings? You don't have an app, right? We just go to your website?
That is such a great question. Not only, Barbara, is there an app, mobile app, whether you're iOS or Android, you can also go to our website and all of our settings are there. And if you're a Leonardo Design Studio user, under the material library, there's also all of that same exact information right available on that page. So definitely a mobile app that you can download if you are iOS or Android. Just type in Siser North America or Siser app, and that'll pop up for you. But also over on our website at any given time, you can always check a material very specifically, what the application, time, temperature, settings, and all that are. But as a third option, if you are a Leo user, you can also access all of that information in Leonardo as well.
Right. And I think I love that part of the software. And I think maybe we should just take a moment and tell them if they're not familiar what Leonardo is.
Yes. Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Leonardo Design Studio, the team and I here about 2.5 years ago now, we're still babies, but Shelly first got introduced to it at Wallapalooza a couple years back. But for us here, we have an awesome brand new cutting systems that are very, very in their infancy, but awesome cutters in the Juliet and the Romeo high definition cutters. full onboard high definition camera for print and cut registration as opposed to more of an optical eye. But Leonardo Design Studio is our design software that is coupled with these cutters, but very feature rich. There's a full rhinestone tool that's available for you in Leonardo Design Studio. There is a tumbler warp where you can actually create a 3D model of a cup. And so you're really able to hone in your settings and that warp of what's going to go on a tumbler, whether straight wall tumblers or more of the Starbucks type tumblers as well. But there's a ton of other tools and options, business features. And the best part is, if you're a Leonardo Design Studio Pro user, you can export in like 5 or 6 major file types. So you can also finally, in a craft software, design software, share all of your designs with your friends, which we love, we love, we love.
Yes, I love that. I've been using Adobe Illustrator for years just because that's how I started 30 years ago. But I think if you're feeling like design space has maybe stopped your creativity, you can't get past, you need more, it's definitely the way you want to go. And it's easy. It's very reasonable priced. You can afford it. It's not one of those that you have to decide if you want it or if you want to eat this month. No, it's super affordable. And it's easy. Once you start getting into it, it's easy to use. And then, like you said, if you have the Pro, it doesn't matter what machine you have, you can export it.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a little secret I like to give on our lives all the time. If you're a Leonardo Design Studio Pro user, or maybe you're not and your friend is, have them export your designs and send them on over to you, because you can easily do that. But what we really love about Leonardo and what we've been able to create with this software. So if you haven't already seen it, you can go over to the Siser NA website, our website. There's a Leonardo Design Studio tab. You can sign up and download the software for absolutely free. We don't even ask you for a credit card, but we use our subscription service for our Pro model. We use that to actually create tools, features, and things like that in software. We do not tell you that you get 10 million free assets because you pay us money. That's not fair to anyone. You guys have plenty of sources. This lady's one of them sitting on the live. Plenty of sources where you can get designs, you can get fonts, and all of that kind of stuff. We truly put it back into creating things like the tumbler warp, like the rhinestone tool, that normally is a by itself type tool that you would have to purchase separately, and so many other features that we've been able to add in. So we definitely appreciate it. And we also appreciate the feedback, because we love when you guys tell us what we need to get better at so we can get better at it.
Yes. And I love your Facebook group that you guys have too. So there's other people out there using it, and there's a great community along with it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. So let's go ahead really quick. And I just want to do a quick application with using a standard Easy Press. Now, for us here at Siser, there's a little bit of a difference that you have to take in consideration. Typically with a Cricut Easy Press or a home iron, usually the temperature you'll have to bump up, or at least on an Easy Press, because you can identify the actual temperature gauge. But this you'll usually have to bump up about 30 degrees than you would with a standard press. And reason being that it's an iron and it's an open canvas, it typically has some hot and cold spots around the upper or the actual platen of this heat press. So to start, we're going to give it the same kind of treatment. We're going to pre-press our garment. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a little bit of a pre-press. We're going to kind of iron out our area that we'll apply to with our Easy Press. And then just like that, it's pretty warm to the touch. I'll be able to take my purple puff here, and I'm going to cover this up again with the same type of paper that we utilized. And I'm just going to give it a simple press, and then we're going to count this thing down from 10. So we'll see kind of what the results are. Now, because we're live, this will probably turn out really good. But in a perfect setting,
fingers crossed.
You will have a difference of what works and what doesn't. So let's see. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
There we go. Bingo. So look at that. So
it just pops the carrier sheet off, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. So let me actually see on this other camera here if I can get real close in there, because I really want to show you.
While you're switching cameras, is the warp tool in Leonardo, that's for the paid and the free version, right?
There are some warp tools in Leonardo that are paid and some that are not paid. Okay. So if you're looking for like the tumbler warp that we talked about, that one's part of the Leonardo Pro.
Okay. So if you wanted to like arc some text or stuff like that.
Basic arc and stuff, you'll be able to do that in basic.
Okay.
So with that, this one, so you can't see it super crazy good on camera, but this actually puffed pretty well.
It does have a really good dimension to it.
Yeah, and the only difference is there are some brainier portions of it. There's some spots where like it may not have puffed all the way, but again, it's the nature of a live, right? You're going to get a really good press when you got Shelly and I on a live together. But you can see
Yeah, I get a couple hundred people watching you. It's usually when something would go
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. But right here, you can actually see really well in comparison that purple color that pops through once you actually heat apply it itself. So if you take
Okay.
that press, sorry, there we go, in comparison to like the forest green press, this one is completely smooth to the touch on the top surface, whereas this one has a couple spots that I would like to be a little smoother, but they're a little brainy. But at least on camera and on a shirt, you probably wouldn't be able to tell if you were, finding me on the street and looking at the shirt in
Yeah,
depth.
people aren't that close. Or sometimes that texture on, if it's like a little boy's t-shirt and it's a dinosaur or something like that, like
Yeah.
sometimes that texture is a good thing too.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny too, because we had talked about it and I wanted to bring this in. I could not find it anywhere in our Christmas stuff, but I make every year usually a Christmas stocking sign for the house. And so the last couple of years we've had a Grinch theme one, and there's a little Christmas tree on there. So I actually took some green puff, and I applied it to PSV, so just adhesive vinyl, so I could kind of make a sticker out of it. And it got really brainy and veiny, and it actually worked out perfect because it was supposed to be a Christmas tree. So it kind of gave the illusion of the branches of a tree and the leaves and stuff. So are the pine needles. So that one, it worked
That's
out well in my favor, but sometimes it doesn't always work out super well.
Yeah, that reminds me, I did a sweatshirt. Somebody asked in the comments about a sweatshirt too, but I did a sweatshirt with snowflakes and it did the same thing. And
Yeah.
it had that brainy look, but I was like, you know what? It kind of works for snowflake.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like snow.
Yeah, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, we do have another question. So
Go
you
for
can use puff on a hat, right? You would just need to use probably one of those hat pillows or a heat press that's just for hats, so you can make sure that you really get the pressure with it.
Yeah, so anytime we're applying or heat applying to a hat, here's what I tell everyone, okay? And this is just for anybody watching. Always make sure, even if you see us do it and it works out great, remember, just like we were trying to prove a point of like sometimes these don't work and it works out for us, or like Shelly has a really good press with her HCV Romp press and one that's not so great, it can be finicky. You can get different results. So always make sure that you test your materials no matter what environment you're working in. But if you are heat applying puff, yes, it works beautifully on a hat. But you want to make sure that when you are using a hat, that you have enough of a backside that's supporting that hat and the actual material of that hat. Because if you do have a point where you get a crease in your hat for whatever reason or anything like that, it can affect or jeopardize the actual puff itself. So just be careful. Make sure that you definitely pack the back of it, whether you like to use, a couple of dish towel, some of us use dish towels just in the back, a pressing pillow or some kind of additional pad. Yep, exactly.
Stacks of paper.
For that. Just make sure you have some really good structure to your hat when it's on that heat press. What's up, Anna?
Just to reiterate what Patrick was saying a little bit earlier, the difference between the easy press and any other press that's automatic or clamshell, it all comes down to the pressure, right?
Yes.
So my pressure that I can put on an easy press, even if I'm sitting on it, is different than probably what Patrick's capable of pressure wise. So that's the big difference there.
Yeah, really, really good point too. The pressure is the biggest factor, and depending on who is actually heat applying the material, that pressure is different. So I've always shown a little pro tip on the regular clam style heat presses that you can turn the dial to adjust the pressure and how to have firm, medium, or even light pressure on your garment. But it is a lot harder to gauge when we have something that is similar to a home iron, where we are forced by our body weight or what pressure we can actually add on to it. And it's just certain materials need a very specific environment to apply in, puff being one of them. You need good, solid contact and pressure to make this technique work really well.
It's almost like you have to find that sweet spot with the heat and the pressure, and then it comes together and makes.
And it makes a beautiful marriage, really, if you think about it. But again, it's got to be a perfect environment. So, okay. So what I want to show, go ahead.
Question quick. Okay. Do you recommend pressing the puff last if you're doing a layered?
Yes. So actually, as I was going to get into this one here, that's a great question because you're a little bit ahead of me, that's exactly what I was going to point out. When you are heat applying puff, if you are doing any type of mixed media, meaning that you're mixing it with glitter, you're doing it with DTF, you're going to use easy weed with it. We always want to make sure that our puff layer is our final press, or at least our final couple of colors of puff our final press. So I'm going to actually show you how to
Okay.
incorporate 2 colors together to make this work really, really well. Not only if you are looking to just add 2 flat colors in a really easy design, but we're also going to show you how to do it with a design that kind of has text woven inside of the puff. So it's really important that we can't necessarily cut directly around. But yes, it should always be your last and final press, no matter what.
This design was too. It was, well, the one I have on, it's puff on the bottom, and I was like, we're just gonna go with the same color.
That's it. That works.
Or actually, on that one, I did like you did with the pumpkin, and I cut it on the, and then I pulled it down on the transfer. So
okay,
it was a little bit further away than it would have been with a regular type of vinyl.
But at the end of the day, we're crafters, right? We figure it out.
Right. It's just, yeah. And I saved, if you've ever messed up on a shirt, just save it and then make that your test dummy. So this one has, this one was kind of my test dummy. I'll show you guys. It's like all over.
That's actually funny because we're twins. Is that with the metallic puff too?
Yes, this was the metallic puff.
There you go. We're twinning right now because it's just in random spots.
I know. And what I did to test it was I took the, like this one, is I took the reverse weed, so I didn't waste any. I just took the reverse weed and then tested that.
Oh, that's smart. I like that.
Because then it was kind of the same size or whatever. And made it a little bit easier.
That's a really good idea. Alrighty.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm just, let me go on the overhead here so you can see, I'm just weeding out this puff really quick. And I got kind of a fun little design that I pulled from Leonardo Design Studio. And just so you know too, as a little plug for Leonardo Design Studio, all designs in Leonardo are truly commercial free, 100% commercial free to use. So if you're a Leo Basic user and or a pro user, you can feel free to use any of those designs, sell them, and make some money for yourself, which we love.
Yeah, we love to support this habit. We do have a bunch of questions when you're ready. We could pop.
Oh yeah, go for it. While I'm weeding out, we'll weed and answer.
Let me see. Deborah says she came in late. Is it a pre-wash? So you might want to re-watch it because we go into a little bit more detail. But it's really about that pressing to begin with. So making sure you're preheating.
Agree.
Is
so while you're finding the question here, I just want to kind of show this side by side. Or I mean, show this on the overhead really fast. So I have this design that says I vote for pizza because anytime we just always vote for pizza. But as you can see, for anybody out there that does heat transfer, especially multicolor, the carrier of this pizza is obviously going to jeopardize my press for this top layer here, which is the I vote for. So the quickest and easiest way to be able to press all your material together is just cutting a little bit closer to the actual design itself and trimming up some of that carrier. And I know for some of you, you might say, hey, Pat, Shelly, this is a super basic technique. We know how to do this. But when it comes to puff, it's really important to call that out, as well as there may be some people that are brand new that haven't had a chance to do this yet. So now I know that no matter where I am on the shirt, that there's no carrier from one material now touching or hindering anything else from actually being able to heat apply. And I see one little spot here that I may want to adjust.
And does it matter, like if you cut it really close and then when it puffs, it goes like beyond your trim line on the carrier sheet?
That's actually a really good question. And kind of to our point that we were making about how the actual puff operates is it has tendency to actually shrink in slightly, not expand. And I think with puff, a lot of folks think that it's going to expand slightly when you press. It actually will shrink down ever so slightly on the press itself. But this design right here is all ready to press all at once. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop on over to our heat press cam. I'm just going to adjust that right back on over to there.
Okay, I love it. Anna's sharing about a press that she did that didn't work out very well either. So you'll have to jump in the Siser group and see that.
You've done a few different applications with puff, right?
Yes. I was just at a trade show, the DTF Expo in Arizona, and I was pressing actually DTF transfers with puff. So that was a lot of fun. People were really excited about that. But I had the heat press set at 320. and I hit the metallic puff, and man, it cooked.
It cooked it.
So yeah, so like I said, after this live concludes, I will throw those photos just so you guys can see what I'm
Great.
talking about in our support group.
Nice.
I know. I feel like we need a literal support group for all of the ruined projects. But she meant
Yeah.
a support group for a fun community.
That's absolutely what we're there for. People post both their successes and their failures so
Yes.
other people
Right.
don't make that same mistake.
Yeah, here's what not to do. Okay, Adam says that the design on Patrick's shirt is actually Easy Weed Electric Red and Easy Puff Metallic Silver. And then they outlined it with a holograph firelit pearl. So you can even see it there in the corner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Here.
it's-
Do you want me to show a
there-
little bit of it?
There
Here.
you go. Get in there without touching your elbow on the heat. On the
Yeah.
heat press.
So there you go. You
That's
can
so
see.
fun.
Yes.
So,
So actually, the bottom layer of this, though, too, there's a strip flock layer at the very bottom, then the puff over
oh,
top.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that strip flock, like how you were saying with the pad of a heat press, gives it that stability to
Yep.
then puff on top of.
Yeah. So actually, you can see on my garment. Everybody, shield your eyes here. No, I'm just kidding. So as you can see on my garment, that even though you can kind of see the outline of some of the design itself, it doesn't actually imprint the same way. It's a flat kind of outline. Whereas with the other puff, if you look at the inside of a shirt, it's more of like a cavity. It's actually kind of dug out for that puff itself.
That's good.
Alrighty.
Will the double carrier sheet affect the temperature?
For this puff or this press that we're about to do right now.
Yeah.
So it does and it doesn't. Now carriers are meant to heat up, and actually we'll just press this one out and we'll see what it does. But the carrier is meant to absorb heat and disperse some heat. But if we are doubling up on the carrier, it should not affect our final result, because you do have some carriers out there. For any of my Cricut Smart Vinyl users, those carriers are obviously super thick. And this is kind of the same thing. Our carriers are pretty thin for the most part. So let's go ahead and peel off both of these hot. There is my red layer.
Yeah, you can see the blue almost kind of popped it off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There
that
we
turned
go.
out great.
So now we have, because if there's ever a vote in my house for family dinner, I always vote pizza.
I know, right?
You know.
That's
So there you go.
good.
So
I
that's
love
showing
it.
you two colors of puff, regular puff, that are all pressed at the same exact time, and we have zero issues with the actual final result of them.
Okay, that's
Which
good.
is awesome.
Melanie said that she had some issues with the gold puff melting. So we're gonna get into some gold,
Yes.
some metallic demonstration. So I think we'll give you some tips. But
Absolutely.
let me see. I'm not on camera
So-
anymore, but I feel your pain, Melanie.
So actually what we're going to do with this garment is I think I'm going to do two things. I think number one, I want to heat apply a metallic sample that I have. Okay, so we're going to use a tiger lily for this one because I love this sample to show
Oh,
you
that's cute.
how the actual puff metallic works versus the regular puff, because now we're moving from a one-step application where we can just go ahead and heat apply that material to now a two-step application. So in this case, what's actually going to happen, and you'll see in real time, is the first press will actually, when I peel the carrier off, the material will be flat on the garment. The second press that we're going to heat apply this will actually be the press that activates that adhesive and allows for a really beautiful puff application. So I'm going to bump up my temperature just a little bit here, and I want to show you
Yeah.
a couple of the. Yeah,
Can
go
you
ahead.
zoom into the sample behind you? We keep getting comments about that, the rainbow.
Which one? Oh, the rainbow. Oh, yeah. Let me bring.
Yeah. So that is in the Leonardo, right? If they want that design.
This design, yes, is available in Leonardo right now. There we go.
Love it.
This is Susie, everyone. This is one of our mannequins in the back. No, but this is
Hi,
all
Susie.
colors. This is all colors of the metallic puff, all pressed. And these are all pressed at the same time, right? These are all laid down and pressed at the same exact time, yeah. So you have in here, these are just the new colors. So we have what is this? The blue, dark blue, or the dust blue, sorry. Dusk blue, I apologize. Dusk blue in here. And then we have the bronze. We have the tiger lily, and then we have the golden rose. Not to be mistaken, though, for the two original metallic puff colors, which is the metallic puff gold and the metallic puff silver.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Kinda
these
adds
are
the pop.
great for like school garments if you've got teens. It really adds a fun pop to some of that, and a lot of the school colors.
Yeah, I absolutely
metallic.
love it. My daughter was actually in the studio a couple weeks ago, and that's all she wants to do is play around with all of the puff stuff that we have available in the studio because she likes playing with it, and then she likes trying to tear it. And so it was a fun time. She's 4. What are you gonna do?
Right. We entertain them. Yes. Well, thank you, Roseanne. Roseanne says it's already great and there's more. Yes. And don't forget we still have a giveaway too. So
We do have a giveaway.
make sure you're commenting the word puff, because every time you comment the word puff, you get entered into the giveaway. So I'm giving away a shopping spree for SVGs, and then Siser is mailing out a fun surprise pack with some puff vinyl and stuff in there for you.
That'll be really fun. That's really, really fun. Alrighty.
Yeah.
So let's really quickly, I just want to hop in and Roseanne, we love you. We love you. She's literally, I feel like she is in every one of all of our lives, and she's always the biggest supporter of all of us. So I love having Roseanne. Yeah.
Yes. I love this comment about using puff on the tail of a bunny. So perfect timing. And
nice. Yeah.
you could even use puff on paper, correct? I haven't tried it.
Yeah, you can. Have you guys done anything in here with puff on paper or cardstock yet? Personally?
Ooh, I don't think so. Have you, Adam?
Have you tried anything with it? I mean, I know it's possible, but also too, the other thing to make sure when we are talking about paper or cardstock or any of that kind of stuff when puff, just make sure that it is something that has a heavy structure to it. If it was something as thin as like computer paper, it's just going to puff and curl your computer paper. It's got to be something more like a cardstock to even get that opportunity to puff, but definitely something to test, because I don't think we've tested that real specifically in studio yet or in house yet.
Yeah, maybe you could press it and then cut it out, like put a little white liner on it so it looks like some of the stickers that are trending now. And then add that to your card if you wanted to do something.
Absolutely.
Cute.
And I'm gonna be the bearer of bad news for the crowd. That we cannot ship internationally for this one. At least Siser cannot. Maybe Shelly's digital coupon, yes. But I don't know if you actually do anything international either, Shelly. But I will say to all our friends that are tuning in from Europe and the Netherlands, our friends at Siser Italy are also doing giveaways here and there as well, and Metallic Puff is one of their new products, so there could be one circulating on their socials soon, so definitely keep an eye out if you are international.
Love it.
Thanks Anna. So what we'll do is when we pick a name, if you are international, you will get my SVG shopping spree because that's digital, and then we'll just pick another name, and then I will make sure that they also get a shopping spree if we end up with 2. So keep commenting. Don't go anywhere.
Cool. Alrighty, ready for some metallic puff fun?
Yes. Quick question. Puff vinyl, does it expire? Does it go bad? Like the shelf life?
All Siser materials typically have a shelf life anywhere from like 2 to 5 years is what we say. However, I've had stuff in my own studio. I know we've had stuff definitely in the live studio. We've had stuff that has been way longer than that. We've been able to use it without any problems. But if you want to put a timestamp on a material, I would say roughly about 2 to 5 years is going to be where your material will start to potentially fail if it's going to.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, let's jump into this. Who is excited about Metallic Puff? You should comment Metallic Puff so you get entered into our giveaway.
Nice. All right, so with Metallic Puff, what I've already done, and I'm just using the sleeve of this garment to make it easy so we can see everything. But the first press is I have actually already pre-pressed this garment out, as you guys can see that it's really flat. So the first press I want to do is I'm just going to cover this up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat apply this for 10 seconds. Okay, so we're at about 300 degrees for 10 seconds. Reason being is that the first press on a metallic puff is always going to be your release press, which means that it'll help it release from the carrier sheet itself. Now, it is a warm to cold peel, so we should take this off of the press, just allow it to cool off just a little bit before we actually peel it. And as you can see already, even with the carrier on, this is still completely flat on this garment. So this is not puffed up as of yet. But once we get into the next actual application, which will be another 10 seconds on the heat press, that's when it will actually physically activate the puff agent in the this material and allow this to get a really beautiful puff. So let me go ahead and peel it, just making sure that we're not going to lose any pieces. We're good. And then just like that, you can see completely flat on the shirt.
That design is so cute.
Oh, is this your balloon dog, Anna?
I think so.
Is it? Yeah. I think this might actually be one of Anna's designs when she was a graphic artist here.
Oh, cute.
When she wasn't running the show.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. And then once we actually do this next 10-second application, this is when we should get that really beautiful puff out of the material itself. So there you go.
Oh, that's cute. And Wanda, yes, you can purchase it at Michael's or some, Joann's. We were just talking about that at the beginning. That is so cute.
Yeah. Or, I mean, somebody might have an affiliate code that I know of that they can get this.
And you can also get it online at Happy Crafters. So we dropped their link in the chat a few times, but it's also in the description. So if you're watching, it would be in the description.
Just a shameless plug for you. That's all.
Totally. And then also working off that, I know you guys love to shop at Michael's and Joann's, as do we. But a lot of our distributors, like Happy Crafters, they sell it a little bit cheaper, so it can be a little bit more affordable, and you can get sheets and rolls and different sizes and lengths of the material too. That's a little more limited when you shop through retail.
Yeah, I love that, because sometimes with some of those colors, I don't need tons and tons, and then you can get just the 12 by 12 sheets.
Yeah, and we're always so amazed. Like, it's our bread and butter, right? We know who our distributors and resellers are, but we're always so amazed about how many people only think that we're in Michael's and Joann's or even on Amazon. But there's so many sellers of Siser products, and there could be some really close to you. So if you're looking for one, just send us an email at info@siserna.com and let us know if you want to shop in person or online, and we can connect you with somebody closest to you.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks.
I like it. All right. What we're doing right now is I'm just going to give this a 2 press, but on the second press, I'm going to actually crank up the time to, let's go 20 seconds. And let's see what a little bit longer time does for the press, because I think that's also another thing that most of us will do. We either are heat applying 2 separate metallic puff pieces into one design, and so we'll end up overcooking one versus the other. Or in a lot of cases, we're using that Teflon. So I'm gonna actually use Teflon as well to really try to get it to cook, so you can see kind of what that puff looks like once it's all set.
Here's what not to do, right?
Here's what not to do. But I do want to show you, though, one method that we're going to be doing here in a minute is showing you not only how to use multiple colors of puff, but as you can see, this is really difficult to actually go through each of these letters and cut really close to the carrier. So there's actually another method that I'm going to show you using PSV application tape to actually create that type of design.
Yeah.
So right here, we have a beautiful, beautiful puff at 20 seconds. Oop, there we go. And that actually looks really, really nice.
That is so cute with that balloon design. It actually looks like a balloon.
Yeah, I think it looks
You're
really,
like,
really
we know, Shelly. That's why we did it.
No. It's I love hearing everybody's thoughts on when we do make some designs like this, because, obviously some are intentional and some you just kind of find out by accident. And so when it hits to what we're going for, obviously that's always a good thing for me. So I'm going to go ahead and heat apply this for another 5 or 6 seconds or so. I want to just see what it does if we continue to overcook it over the course of a few presses on after. So right now, you won't be able to see this super well on camera, but maybe the next one. Right now, we're fading color just a little bit in here. And that's something that also can happen when we are heat applying and overcooking our material multiple presses over and over again, especially with a material that's not meant for it. You can start to get some what are called hot and cold spots, and it almost looks like there's cavities that are like built into the material itself. So let's see if we can get that to happen.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to make it happen now that you're trying to prune.
Yeah, now that I'm trying to. Well, on here too, you can't see it super well on here, but in between the fibers of the puff, you can almost see like color is gone and lost. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're good. And then also too, when we are overcooking any heat transfer materials, we have tendency for it to peel really, really easily, because what we'll do is
overcooked too.
Yeah, it typically doesn't overcook the physical material. What you're actually overcooking is the adhesive on the backside. And obviously, like anything else, it gets to a certain point where it'll start to evaporate or it'll start to disperse into the garment. And then that could give you a negative press itself. So with that, I want to show you really quickly, because I know that we don't have a crazy, crazy amount of time today, but I do want to show you how to apply multiple layers of the metallic puff, because we've already kind of showed you with this one that we can cut close to the carrier and we can make a really, really nice shirt out of it. But what happens when we don't have the ability to actually cut really close to that carrier, because we have to make sure that our both of our layers aren't touching any material or carrier itself.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll jump in. We have a kind of a list of questions in here too. So,
Ooh, nice. Well, feel free to, if you want to ask away on any of those questions while we're weeding out, go for it.
okay.
Yeah, you want to weed a little bit?
Does the puff vinyl work well with the Cricut AutoPress? And I think we kind of covered that with just testing out your settings. You know, maybe when you put your paper or that special pad underneath it, because at that point it's really about the pressure, right?
Yeah, it really comes down to pressure, and I would say treat that the same as like the HTV Ron. The Cricut AutoPress and the HTV Ron AutoPress do not have much of a difference other than the actual makeup of the unit itself and then how it operates. But other than that, it's the same, where it's auto displaying a pressure, and it's giving you only specific pressure settings. So always double check. But like I tell everyone, grab a swatch of material, grab a square, and just cut a square out of a material, heat it up on the press, and see what it does. Because you might be surprised, as Shelly has said too, you know, sometimes you can get a good press, and then sometimes you don't get such a good press out of it. And it's always good to just make sure that you're checking yourself along the way.
Okay, that's good to know. And then this comment, I'm just going to throw some up, is the orange metallic you're wearing. We commented on, if you scroll up, Adam did a post on Patrick's shirt. So he did a comment on all of those products. And then also they're wondering if his shirt is a custom font. So we did have a lot of people are loving on your shirt.
Do we actually have answers on if this is a custom font too? Okay, cool. I didn't know if when Cortez made this one. This was made by one of our awesome graphic designers in-house too. This is what we normally are wearing at our trade shows and stuff like that. But this one was a Cortez design, so I didn't know if he had a specific font for it or not. Yes. Awesome.
All right. Do you guys have a heat press that you recommend? That's one of the questions that we have.
See, that's the thing. Everybody always asks this, and I wish we had our own still to be able to plug. Now, we do have some of the Siser white presses. So this little heat press that you see that I'm using in the back, that one right there is a 9x11. However, if you're looking for more of a 16x20 style heat press, or even a 15x15, our friends over at Heat Press Nation are an awesome resource for heat presses, as well as our friends over at Heat Transfer Warehouse. They both have a ton of different presses, a ton of different brands out there. But I always tell people, when it comes to regular heat transfer material, any press is kind of good. A home iron works fine. When we're dealing with things like puff, when we're dealing with things that may require different pressure settings. So ask yourself the question too, maybe one day, do I want to get into sublimation if I'm not already? That requires really heavy pressure. So you may want to look into more of a clamp style, which means it has a little dial on top and you can manually adjust the pressure, as opposed to something closer to like an auto press or an easy press or even a home iron. Now, if you are somebody that is just doing basic heat transfer vinyl projects, paper craft projects, things that you don't need a crazy amount of pressure for, using something like an auto press may suffice just fine.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
And then, can you have too much pressure? You can. Like we were saying, you have to have that sweet spot between the right temperature and the right pressure. Mm-hmm. And that's where the testing comes. But if you go to their website, they've got all the details. So whatever color you have, just go to their website, and then it will tell you which, how much pressure and what. So I found that really helpful as I was going through it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you found that useful too. I feel like I go to our website a lot during lives, especially beforehand. I'm like, oh no, I got to remember this application, or I got to remember this one point. And so I'm constantly going back myself.
And it's just like when you're making a recipe and it says 350 at 20 minutes. And then how many times do you look at that and, maybe have to dig the box out of the garbage because you've only looked at it 4 times.
Yep. Well, then I got to make sure it's like, what elevation am I at? What type of oven do I have now? We take these considerations when we do things like cook. Well, we're doing the same thing with vinyl. We're just cooking with vinyl, not with food, right? So we got to try to take those same considerations.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to come. You're going to kind of get to know them. I have found that this light colored pink, this blush pink, whether it's puff vinyl or just regular, it has to be a little bit cooler than the rest of them, which I think you pointed out to me the other day when we were talking that's why there's that settings when you go to their website and there's kind of a a beginning and an end. They're like,
Yeah.
this is kind of your temperature gauge. The red
Yep.
ones usually need a little bit cooler temp. Okay.
For
Do you want to
sure.
dive in and then we'll jump back
Yeah.
to some questions? Okay.
Yeah. And if we have any questions, let me know. So we just did a shirt. Obviously, I'm going to throw the pizza one up here again because this is a really easy way to display this. So for this particular shirt we just made with puff, I can cut really close onto the border of this design, and I can make sure that both of these are pressed on two carriers that are just layered on top of each other at the same time, right? Well, when we get into designs like, say, a word that then has a font that might be going through or wisping through the entire word, this makes it a little bit more difficult. And yes, I can cut as close as I can to the carrier, but we still may get into a situation where maybe this part of the design is slightly shifted. And so what's going to end up happening is, number one, we'll have a crooked design, or these cavities can tend to heal, and then you're pressing onto a carrier. So how do we fix this? Well, if any of you are adhesive users, meaning PSV or pressure sensitive vinyl or sticker vinyl, we have this PSV transfer tape, okay? And this is not a heat application tape. And you can tell here at Siser because it does have the Siser logo and it has a grayed out grid on it. So this actually cannot be heat applied, but we can use this to transfer one of our puff designs onto the other. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is I'm just going to take this golden and I'm going to cut out a piece of my transfer film. Alrighty, so we know that this now is the right size. Now this gold, you can see at the top, this is the top of my material, or what we call the skin layer of our material, okay? This back side that's white is our adhesive side. So what I'm gonna do is put the adhesive side up, adhesive side sticking up, which means that if I put my fingers on it, it obviously lifts off of the table. And then I'm gonna take my PSV transfer tape, and I'm simply going to start from the middle, and I'm going to roll my material so that it covers the word golden, okay? Grab a quick little squeegee. I had one right here. Here we go. I'm just going to start from the center, and I'm going to go really light over the design itself. I don't necessarily want to do too much from carrier to carrier, but I'm just going to kind of lightly burnish the actual design. And what I'm looking for is I'm just making sure that I don't have any air bubbles on the design itself, so it'll pick this whole word up really, really clean. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can use a squeegee, or you can just take your finger and kind of move your finger along the actual design of the material, ensuring that it all kind of stays down. And then from there, we want to just be very careful, and we want to start. I always tell anybody that's doing this type of technique, start not from a point, start from a rounded edge, because it's going to be easier to see a rounded edge that may not pick up your design than it is when you get to a point, because sometimes you'll peel too far and you realize you've gone too far. So just going to lightly peel this and roll over this top carrier as I'm going over this design. Now, there might be some spots that do pick up. All you're going to have to do is you're just going to have to make sure that you push it down with your finger and just go all the way through the design. And now we're at Main Street. We're getting off at 42nd and 3rd. There we go. Look at this. We're just taking you all down the journey.
Bus, and then you got to press them back down.
Somebody's chasing the bus down right now. There we go. So we have right now our word golden. Okay, and now this is adhesive to adhesive. So the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this on down, or I can turn it over and apply it to my design. But if it makes it easier for you guys, you can throw two quick pieces of tape here, use the bigger portion of your design, and actually actually apply it. But what we'll do is just going to flip this on over. Make sure that I'm in all of the cavities. And I know Anna's getting the sweats right now every time I do this technique.
I sweat every time he does something live that I know he didn't try before we went live.
So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is, again, same thing on that design itself. We're going to follow this text, but instead, this time I want to flip it over, because now what we're trying to do is get the carrier to adhere to the golden and then be able to release our pressure sensitive carrier. So same thing, I'm just going to make sure that there's no little air pockets. Then I'm going over the whole design itself. There we go. And it's really important at this point too, to kind of minimize any type of like air pockets that you see between the material and the carrier, because they do have tendency to make the material fail if you don't check those. So again, I'm just going right over the word to make sure all that adheres to the carrier. And then this is the part that Anna gets real sweaty for. But now we're just going to slowly remove our pressure sensitive carrier. And if we get any spots that peel up or pull up, that's okay. We can fix them. But now I have, let's go to the end there. Boom. Now I have both materials ready to press at the exact same time. I did not have to cut really close to the carrier. Both of these metallics are sitting on one carrier together, ready for the application. So let's go ahead now.
I've stopped sweating if anybody wants to know.
If anybody cares.
She's breathing again in the background.
She's breathing again, yeah. So now what we're going to do from there is we'll hop on over to the heat press. And then we're just going to give this garment a quick little pre-press. Now, for anybody out there that is doing anything with a shirt, I feel like I show this every time we do a live, but I think it's very important. Ooh, let's not drop that down too much. I think it's very important to show if we want to score a center line in our garment, okay, so that we can ensure that we're lining up, especially when we're working on a little bit smaller platen and the whole shirt isn't flattened out. Really easy trick that you can do is you just take your garment, just like you're folding it at home, and you just fold it directly in half, okay? And now what I can do is I can lay that folded garment in half on my heat press. And this is going to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Not only is this going to give me a great pre-press in this garment, but it'll also score a center line right down the center of my garment, just to make the lining up process a little bit easier. So now what I have is I have a nice little score line right down the center of my shirt. And so it's going to be much easier now to thread it and ensure that I get a really, really straight, beautiful press. Okay. So now again, I have my design, both colors of Easy Puff Metallic on one carrier together. And now we can simply, since we've already pre-pressed our garment, we're just going to line up our design. Make sure it's lined up because I may wear this on after now.
Cool. That'd be fun.
Sometimes after lives, I decide if I'm going to wear a garment or not. So, and then let me grab this. Okay. And then the same rules for Easy Puff Metallic apply. I'm going to heat apply it for 10 seconds. And then what I'll do is I'll lift the actual heat press up. We'll let it cool for a moment. And then we're going to heat apply it for another 10 seconds. And that'll allow us a really, really nice puff effect with two separate colors. So again,
okay.
Just gonna
And is
let it
that
cool.
different? Those settings are different for the regular puff.
For the regular, yes. Yeah, they're slightly different. So when we are working with like the regular Easy Puff itself, we're at 280 degrees for about 8 to 10 seconds. When we're working with the metallic puff on its own, we're right at about still 280, but two separate presses. I typically bump my temp up a little bit and press kind of everything right around 300 degrees. But again, that's more of a, there's a right way and then there's the Patrick way sometimes.
Is it better, you know, like to err on the side of caution? Is it better to have it a little too hot or a little too cool?
Okay, so with that, that's a great question. I would say if it's a little bit too cool, what you're going to notice is less of a puff. So metallic is easy to rectify because you can hit it again or heat apply it just for a couple of seconds. With the regular puff, it's really going to be important to have that temperature. But I will say if you stick with 280 degrees and you stick with 10 seconds on a conventional heat press with appropriate, not appropriate temperature, but appropriate pressure, you're going to get a really beautiful puff every time. But yeah, I would say if you're going to err on the side of anything, err on the side of going just a little bit cool, because if you go too hot, then you risk over scorching your material and then you have a really bad outcome. So there you go.
That turned out
just
great.
Like that. Two separate colors of the metallic, really easy to do. And we were able to transfer them just using some PSV transfer tape.
I love that idea because I always think I'm cutting just right next to the line. And then there's always something that overlaps. And sometimes I get lucky and it's like the dot of an I or something and then I could go back and redo it, but not always.
Well, and one thing that I found too, and I have some fun little show and tell stuff just for the audience so we can show all the other fun stuff that we've made with it. But One thing that I do like too about the Romeo and the Juliet is you can actually separate a contour cut line away from a normal cut. So in software, if you wanted to, and you didn't trust yourself to be able to transfer 1-to-1, you can add an additional offset in Leonardo, change that into a full perforation cut. You just have to make sure your material's on a mat, and it will actually cut a contour around your design that's going to be close enough to the design, but far enough away from the second press or the second color you're going to need. So you can also make it really easy that way too.
Yeah, that's
I just like showing this makes the most sense. Most of us have a bunch of this transfer tape laying around because let's face it, we all got into the sticker world and then we realized we buy way too much of it. So so with that, it just makes it a lot easier.
Like that made no sense.
Yeah.
Can people buy the puff vinyl in Quebec, Canada?
We do have some folks in Canada. Actually, can one of you look at the maps? I think ND Graphics is going to be the best source, but if there is any other ones in Canada, we can at least give a name. The only reason I say that too for friends in Canada, I know as well as you know, it is super hard to get things shipped over there and also find a local place or somewhere. So I'd rather give you guys a name direct that you can look out for as opposed to just say, hey, go find it somewhere.
Yeah, it's there. Google it. No.
Yeah, here in the States, it's kind of it's there. Google it thing because there's so many.
Yeah,
but and I know for sure ND Graphics is one of our largest distributors that covers all of Canada. So they have multiple locations everywhere. They're definitely going to probably be a great source. But if not, they have resellers they're attached to that they'll be able to find you a source for it. Okay.
Okay. And we have about 20 questions here. Do you want to do a rapid fire?
Let's do a Q&A and then we can wrap it up from there. That's awesome. We got a lot of questions coming.
I know. So does the puff material hold up as long as the other heat transfer vinyls?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I feel like the ones I've been wearing have.
Yeah, and you may get a little if we match puff 1-to-1 to like an easy weed or a brick or something, you're gonna get obviously fading and wear, and the life of that garment or the life of that material is not gonna last as long. But I mean, I have some puff designs that I've had on a shirt or a hat or a bag for 2 or 3 years, and I have no problem with it. I will tell you this, at Siser, for anybody that has materials, we certify all of our materials to last you the lifetime of a garment. Now, for some of you, I got my favorite garments from high school and from middle school and all that stuff too. So I get what you're going to tell me of like, Pat, I don't think you understand how long I've had some of these garments for. But for the normal wear and tear use case in life of a normal garment, any heat transfer material that you put on it from Siser, being that it's a certified material here, will last you the lifetime of that garment itself.
Yeah, they do. And sometimes it's just, if it doesn't, I would just double check your heat settings. Sometimes even just reapplying it. I've had to do that on a couple things that I just didn't press hard enough or press hot enough.
Potentially, yeah. And that's the other thing too, right? Pressure, temperature, they're all a gauge that's going to give you the most successful outcomes. So it's just really make sure that you have the appropriate settings and the appropriate environment to be able to press some of these.
Okay, so Roseanne says that she's excited to make the shirts that I have. So the adventure one was inspired because my son lives in Colorado when I left. It's hard to leave.
Yeah, I love it.
This week, but anyway, so you get this free SVG with the Cricut crafting adventure that's coming up at the end of the month. So if you don't have your ticket yet, we did drop a link in there. You get this free file, you get the instructions. I have a puff vinyl cheat sheet. So if you're thinking, okay, this was like drinking from a fire hose, not only can you go to Siser's website, but you can also download my little PDF. And we're going to drop in the comments where you can go register for the Cricut crafting adventure, because that's coming up starting at the end of the month.
That's awesome. Yeah, how many people are going to be in that one? How many educators are there total?
There's 40 some sessions.
Wow, that's a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a ton of giveaways. There's some super exciting giveaways that, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a great community, and then you just learn a lot. And if you're not a traveler, that's not like the focus of it. So I mean, you wouldn't have to be a traveler to use this puff vinyl workshop that we do. So
well, and also remember, guys out there too, there's travelers in your lives, and if you are somebody that wants to take this from a hobby to a business and become an entrepreneur, like any and all designs for any and all summits that you get for free and can potentially use, those are all just more things that you can put in your database of opportunities for yourself or for your customers or for your family.
Yeah, quite a few of them in the Cricut Adventure has commercial rights, so it'll say that in there if they don't, but majority of them do.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
Yeah, Roseanne says this is her third one and she just got the VIP. So there is a free ticket and then there is a paid ticket. So if you upgrade to the paid, you get a ton of bonuses, a ton of SVGs, and a bunch of other trainings and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So lots of people jumping in there now. Kelly says she would love to have you over on her channel too. So we'll put the two of you guys together.
Anytime, yeah.
She has some really fun designs and very creative. So thanks for joining us, Kelly.
Nice.
Myra says, can you use puff vinyl on faux leather?
Ooh, that's a good one. Have you had any faux leather? And I don't think any of us have tried. I don't know if Cortez is upstairs in here at all, but maybe somebody can teams him if he's tried it on faux leather. Typically, I would say it wouldn't work on faux leather just because the material itself is just too stiff to really try to activate that puff properly. And leather tends to hold a lot of heat up front and disperse quickly. So like too much heat could cause early failure before you even get a chance to pull the carrier off and really see the design itself.
Okay, that's good to know. But I mean, if you've got some samples laying around, give it a try.
Yeah, always give it a try. Another alternative, if you want the dimension, but you don't necessarily want to risk, if puff is the right one, brick also works really, really well and gives off a great amount of dimension and depth too. So It's an option if you are doing faux leather or something. Brick 600 is another product we carry here that could potentially work for you well.
Okay, that is good to know. And the replay, if you're watching this over on Facebook, since they're deleting them after 30 days now, you can find it on our YouTube channels. So come over there. Let's see.
Oh, there we go. Cortez just chimed in too. He said, I haven't tried puff or metallic puff on faux leather yet. But usually when Cortez says yet, that probably means he's upstairs right now running to a heat press. So
all right. I was gonna say, Siser team, you've got paper and faux leather. You can get back to me. Have your people get back to me on that. Have your people get back to me.
Sounds good. I have my people call your people. Yeah.
Yeah. Tammy says she's always been nervous about using puff vinyl, so she feels a little bit more confident now. Sweet, that was our goal.
Awesome.
Because I was kind of feeling that too.
Yeah.
Yes, you can use the inside of your image that you have weeded, so you definitely can reuse them. Do you need to insert a piece of paper in between the top and the back part of the sleeve? So
that's a good question though. And I just want to address that because when that popped up, that like made my brain run in circles. No, you don't on a standard garment. However, for some of you ladies out there that wear some of the lace sleeves or like the more sheer sleeves, that's when you're going to want to make sure that you put a non-stick, like a parchment paper. Well, parchment paper even sometimes stick. That's when you're going to want to use like a Teflon in between the sleeves, just in case you get any of the adhesives to actually bleed through the shirt so that you don't. And obviously, if you are doing any like game day jerseys, meaning football jerseys that are perforated or have all the little tiny holes in them, that's definitely when you're going to want to. I love answering that question. Sorry, I jumped on that really quick.
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you, Christine. Yeah. I never thought about that one. Let's see. And I think we've talked about the heat presses before, but really the size, so a 9x9, I think it really just depends on what you're doing and what you're using it for.
Yeah.
You can make anything work, but
yeah, and if you have a 9, so here's the thing with a heat press. Understand that a heat press has cold spots typically around the border of the press. So if you're about an inch or a half inch from the edge of the press inside to where the heating elements really start, you're going to have a small bit of cold there. So if you are using a 9x9 press, just make sure that your designs fit within that 9x9 surface area with a little bit of give on the edges, because if you have any of those cold spots, that's when you can get some of that uneven press because the temperature is not 100% true all the way through. And that's true for pretty much every press out there. Every press has small cold and hot spots. And most heat press companies are really good at putting that information in like the user manual to let you know that the heat is plus or minus 5 degrees or 3 degrees or 20 degrees, whatever it is. The only ones that I haven't found that actually put it in the manual are like the Cricut materials, but we've just found out over time in history that that's kind of how that works.
Okay, that's good. And then we did, I don't know if you're watching the whole time, Krista, but earlier, if you watched the replay, we did do the hand press from Cricut, and that will give you very similar, if not the exact kind of settings you would need for your iron.
Yep.
If you didn't know, metallic puff can somewhat take on a texture or pattern laid on the layer with the strip flock underneath it.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Cortez, that was a really good point. As a more advanced technique, if you do have something like strip flock that is cut into a specific pattern, remember the actual puff adheres to whatever that fabric is underneath it. So if you have a fabric like strip flock cut into a certain pattern, it will actually take on that pattern itself within the design. So it's a really cool use case, as well as, which one thing I didn't bring is if using a piece of mesh with puff will give it also a really fun texture as well.
That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
So many creative different, I don't know, outlets or avenues that you could take it.
Yeah, for sure. For
Just
sure.
from-
And oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say just from the one product alone. So Kristen says that the color names are different in Europe.
Yeah. Okay. So, us and our friends over in Italy, we love coming up with names, but sometimes we like our own names. So every once in a while, you will see two materials that, for different reasons. Number one, the material name just because, they have a specific name and we've brought it on after them, or they're launching it after us and they had a specific name they like. But honestly, 99.9% of the reason is that a name that we have here in the US may not translate in every other country appropriately. So, not to say, just as an example, tiger lily in Europe could mean one thing, Asia could mean something else, and India could mean something else. And because they handle all of that side of the world, they have to be way more universal with some of their color selections and name choosing. As opposed to us, we kind of get the free range to name it kind of anything because everything translates appropriately, at least here, English to English. So
that's good. And I think trends too, probably things that are trending.
Oh yeah.
Help.
Yeah. For sure.
So yes, it does. Sherry asked, she says, thanks for the live covering of metallic and the regular. Does it work on flock?
Yes, so it does. So a lot of what you'll see in some, and actually it's funny enough because Cortez hopped in here right now and he's just hanging out. But one thing that he has tried, and same with what's on my jersey, there's actually a layer of Strip Flock Pro underneath it, and then the puff is layered on top itself.
Yes.
Is that the texture one, Anna?
Would you say it works on brick as well?
Brick, brick. Have you done puff on brick yet, Cortez? I feel like it doesn't adhere appropriately, does it? No. Okay. So yeah, Cortez is down here too, and he said even with the brick, it doesn't adhere super well and take on a great texture. But I do want to show you, kind of bouncing back a few comments where Cortez had made the suggestion. I told you he ran from upstairs downstairs and he just threw me the shirt. But talking about adding strip flock underneath to add an additional texture, this is a great example of that. So as you can see on the Nike, the actual strip flock, and Cortez, just correct me if I'm wrong, the strip flock itself is cut with the star pattern in it, correct? And then the puff is laid over top of it to give it more depth.
Okay, so you put the stars down, or you put the reverse weed of the? You put the stars.
No,
down.
so the stars down first in strip flock. And did you do one layer or two layer? Just one layer of the actual strip flock itself, and then laying down the puff over top of it and doing the two-step application with it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a
fun possibility.
Might be a fun project to do when we get back of doing a tutorial on it and showing how to do that.
Good. Robin says that she likes the brick. She uses it for braille shirts.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So that's actually a really great use case, and I'm glad. Thank you, Cortez, for that. That's actually a really great use case, and one thing that I'm glad that you brought up, because I totally failed to bring this up, is that our Brick 600 and our Strip Flock Pro, as well as things like our glitter and some of our other textured materials, are really, really great for not only accessibility use cases like Braille for the blind community and being able to read and see things, but also think of like the autism community, right? A lot of it is sensory. So if you are somebody that is more sensory, it's a great opportunity and a great option to be able to make, a garment that has a bunch of different textures on it. So, I mean, it really, the world opens up to what you want, whether that's brick, Strip Flock Pro, puff vinyls, metallic puff, which is a different texture than regular puff. I mean, you really have a lot of options and opportunities too. So thank you for bringing that one up.
Yeah, that is a good
Cool, cool.
Good statement. So besides me testing it out, Cortez says you can press Easy Puff and Metallic Puff together.
Correct. Yep. Actually, I want to show you a few of these fun designs that we've come up with here in the office. But so maybe we hop in, or do we have any other questions, or we want to hop in the giveaway?
I think we're here's one more. So excited to learn about the Siser website, and they had an idea that was available. Puff is great, but I love the ideas of the available info on the materials. Okay, yes. So just commenting. I was worried that that was a long question, but yes, I agree, Mary. I love having all of that resources, and it's so easy to find. Like your website is so easy to navigate. So
awesome.
As a user, I appreciate that. But
big shout out to Keith upstairs, our VP of marketing. He's the one that does all the website stuff. I think people don't realize, and I think you realized this last time, you know, you and I have done a couple of events together, is that our team here at Siser, for anybody on the outside world, is like our North America team is like 38 people in office. And so our Latin America team is 3. Our Italy team is a little bit larger than we are, but it's a very small team that makes up all this. So when somebody says, hey, great job on the website, I love, because I can walk upstairs to the person's office who does it and say like, hey, you got a compliment today in the live. So shout out to Keith for that one. Yeah.
Let's give him some hearts on there. Don't forget to comment Puff either. So we're going to pick a winner.
Okay, perfect.
Let's jump into those samples that you have.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I want to hop on the overhead and show you some really fun use cases. So I know that with the Rhinestone tool we've just launched not too long ago, there was a really fun use case from our friend Cindy upstairs in A&D.
Oh, cute.
Where she created a bag. Now this bag has a few different materials. The black is all strip flock. So even in between the metallic, that's all strip flock as the base layer. And then what she was able to do is take the metallic puff silver and add a little bit of depth and dimension to the bag itself. And then in between, you can sort of see them, but there's all the rhinestones that were cut from holographic heat transfer vinyl and then added in to really give a full, fun design.
That's so cute.
Yeah, that one. And then we were just experimenting, playing around with Puff and this like globe thing that we have in software. But I want to show you, I already showed you the stay weird. Because as a reminder to everybody, you should always stay weird. But this right here is showing again that technique we just showed by being able to apply all colors of the new puffs and the old stuff all in one press to make it really, really easy for you. This one right here is one that was added from a couple different elements. So the Santa Monica and then the sky blue here border, this is all puff. And then this is actually Easy Weed and Easy Weed for the drop shadow. It kind of gives you a different look to a design.
Yes, very retro. I love that. What color was the pink? I know.
This one right here, I think this is just the, let me double check. I think this is just the pink. This one's the deep pink.
Okay.
For this particular one. All righty.
Thank you.
And then you were talking about a onesie earlier, so I had to pull out the onesie.
Cute.
Mommy's Love Bug, and this one is with some fluorescent Easy Weed as well. Made in this one. And then I know this has kind of been sort of trendy online too, but this is actually puff in the center, but also glitter is like the border. And I know you can't see it super well on that one. So let me hop over here, but you can see how that's puff. And then you have like the glitter as well.
Oh, that's cute. Did you do a knockout on the glitter or is it layered?
Yeah, no, that one's more of a knockout. So always best to err on the side of caution of a knockout, especially when you're working with a material that's not layerable like a glitter heat transfer. But if you do want to learn about the knockout method, Lily's got an awesome blog over on the Siser NA website. So if you go to CiserNA.com, go to the blog section and type in fake layer or fake, it'll actually pop up the fake layering technique right there for you to learn.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. And yes, the puff vinyl you can cut with your Cricut.
Of course, yep. Any Siser materials here, you know, I think there was a lot of confusion when we launched the cutters and software. All Siser materials are universal with all cutters, so you can use them on all cutting systems. So, cool.
Yes, this one's for Cortez. We need him to do a full day live, so now he's got a fourth assignment from today.
Listen, I mean, not to give Anna anxiety already, but we got to start thinking about National Heat Transfer Vinyl Day again this year, Shelly. So you might have to be in there, and we might have to get Cortez to teach a class on his own.
Oh, there you go. That'll be fun. So
Just
make
throwing
sure
it
you
out there.
subscribe. Go over and subscribe to Siser's channel, and then make sure you
Yep.
subscribe here. Shirley says that her metallic puff just came today. So after watching the
Nice.
tutorial, she has the VIP pass. So again, this is with the Cricut Crafting Adventure. So if you
Mhm.
have that VIP pass, you can start watching all 40.
That's awesome. And also too, for anybody out there, don't be afraid to jump in. Try it. That's the biggest thing. Remember, when you guys first got the Cricut, or you first got your silhouette, or you first got your brother scan and cut, you'd sat in the box for a couple months till finally one day you said, I'm just gonna open it up and try it. So that's the big thing, is just try, dive in. If you fail, that is okay, because guess what? You have plenty of educators like myself and Shelly, and YouTube tutorials that we've created, and live sessions and all that stuff to teach you kind of the ins and outs. Or you just come right back to this live and you learn everything you need to about Puff. But just hop in and just try it. That's the biggest, I think that's the biggest key and the biggest goal in these types of lives, is like, people have a fear of doing these things when we first buy them, and they're intimidating, even though we want to get on the trend with everyone else. Just dive in, cut something. It doesn't matter if it's a heart, star, horseshoe, clover, or balloon. Like, just cut something and heat apply it to a scrap garment and see what it does. And I guarantee you, with Puff, you're going to fall in love with the material.
Yes,
so the rest will be history.
It kind of gave me 80s flashbacks, and I was like, oh, I'm so old that everything's coming around again. Like, do we have to? And then I started playing with it, and now, like, I was sitting here and I was like, I only have 2, and now I have 4 shirts, and I'm thinking of 2 more in my closet. I love it for holidays. Holidays and good stuff too.
Well, in our house too, our daughter loves it too, because she's definitely a 90s baby, even though was not born anywhere near the 90s. So she likes to dress that way. So it's great in our house, because it's like we dress like we did back in the day.
Yeah.
Whatever that means now, I guess.
I know. Well, you'll have to go look at my Facebook page, because I posted my senior picture in my tie-dyed outfit for
nice.
Waited in the 90s.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
It's very trendy. I keep telling myself. Okay.
All right. Cool.
So I think we should pick a winner, because
let's do it.
We definitely have a couple thousand comments now.
Oh, awesome.
Let me find. All right. So I have a little tool that I am going to pull up, and it is drawing a name.
Nice.
Right now it's going through. The winner is Debbie Ropaz. I'm going to say her name wrong. I'm sorry, Debbie.
We apologize if we say any names wrong ever. Right. We do apologize.
And Debbie I get Ropaz. That, because with Shelly, I always get people to call me Shelly, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, I dropped it in the chat. So
awesome.
Debbie, you are the winner. And
if you congratulations.
Throw her some love, everyone.
That is awesome.
So I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if you want to give me, Debbie, if you're watching this, email us over, and let's make sure she's on here, because we said you have to come watch to win, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Debbie, if you're watching, I'm
looking.
I know there's so many names there. Okay, hold on. Let me throw it in. Wait for it.
And I will plug one thing that's coming up very soon.
Yes.
That everybody in the office is going to yell at me for saying anything about it up front, but why not? We're on your live and we're in front of the audience. Why don't we just show them?
We're waiting for Debbie,
listen,
so why not?
I'm going to show it, but I'm not going to say it. But, we obviously have our regular puff. We have our metallic puff. There may be something coming very, very soon.
Isn't that adorable? Hold on, let me put you full screen so that we can see. Look at how that shines. Like
maybe a new puff on the horizon.
But I can't wait.
That's all I can show. I can't show too much more. Or everybody else. Well, I also like this one too, because it shines really well.
Oh, that one's cute too.
That's all I'm going to show.
Let me see. I don't see Debbie commenting. Shoot. Oh, we'll give her.
Was she Facebook or was she YouTube that we saw?
I don't think that it told me.
Oh, okay. I saw her on YouTube. Did you see her on YouTube earlier? Okay.
It shows. Actually, it does show YouTube on my software.
Oh, Barbara called me out. She knows that I'm always spilling the beans on lives.
That's so funny. Okay, we're watching. We're watching. All right, I think we're gonna have to draw another winner.
All right. Well, we're drawing another one.
So let me hide that one. Okay, I'm gonna hit the
Debbie,
tool.
we appreciate you hanging out though earlier.
Yeah,
We do appreciate it.
and it's counting. It's counting. And the winner is S.
Oh, hold on. Debbie just commented.
Did she?
She just commented. Debbie is in the building.
Oh, yay. She's here.
There we go, Debbie.
Woohoo.
Woo.
Okay, good.
Debbie, I thought we were going to have to disappoint somebody today, and I'm really happy.
I was feeling bad. And are you you in the US, Debbie, if you want to comment that too, but I want to thank you for joining me, Patrick. This was so educational.
Of course.
And it was so good for me just to learn some of those extra tips and tricks. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to make some more things.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for your class coming up.
Yeah.
BT
So
Dubs.
if you guys haven't done it yet, grab your ticket to the Cricut Crafting Adventure so we can get over there and do some more fun crafting things. And if you have a Siser machine, you're going to find lots of fun tips and tricks and projects and stuff like that that you can also jump into. And no matter what machine you have, I think it'll be very universal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's good. And then when is your next? We had talked about the Siser After Dark. So when is your next session?
So we have been on kind of a tear lately, and we've been going literally every single Thursday. So next month we're going to be shifting the schedule a little bit, but the next After Dark live itself. Sorry, I have random people calling me. Maybe we should answer it on the live and see what they want. But with that, the next After Dark will actually be this Thursday. I'm covering everything sublimation. So all Siser materials that are sublimatable, all sublimation opportunities you have within the Siser universe in general. And then I'm also going to show a really fun tip and trick on how to print a sublimation print, heat apply it directly to, with registration marks, to glitter HTV, and then take it onto your cutter and cut it from there. So I actually did a YouTube video on the new two-step way, or the new method of doing a glitter sublimation, over on the Siser North America YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out, or if Adam or Anna, you want to drop a link really quick to that one. So you can actually learn that technique. But this Thursday, we'll be going over that. Then the following week, I'm really excited. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
Just for anybody. And if you go over to the Siser North America main page, Siser North America on Facebook, you can actually get your tickets for that. It's a closed circuit class, so you have to register and attend to actually ask me questions live and get all those questions answered. The good news is, though, if you register and you miss the event, you can always go back and watch the replay. So it'll send you a follow-up email to allow you to watch the replay again. So we've done 7 of them so far. We've covered everything from Romeo, Juliet, Leonardo, all Siser materials. And then a couple weeks ago, I just showed you how to make your first SVG from scratch. Last week, we went over all things print and cut. This week, we're going to go over all things sublimation. And then next week, my friend Stephanie from So Stephanie Says, one of our awesome educators here at Siser, will be doing all things embroidery with the Siser World for her After Dark class while we're at the International Sign Association show in Vegas. And then next month, we'll be going to a 2-a-month schedule. So the 2 Wednesdays every month, we'll be doing 2 classes each month, just adding to that playlist. And then all of that stuff can be watched over on the Siser North America YouTube channel under a playlist called Siser After Dark. So you guys have plenty of ways to listen or watch me and just drive you crazy even more at home. That's all.
Right. Well, we were on here for almost 2 hours and it felt like 10 minutes. So
that's all right. I love it.
I might be biased, but I thought it was fun. Well, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Your time and showing us all these exciting things. There's tons of more comments that was just very inspired. So yeah, we've definitely lit a fire under the puff today. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, for anybody out there too that wants to know any more, obviously Shelly is an awesome educator, as I've already said millions of times. I give her nothing but props for what she does on a regular basis. But you can follow Siser on all Siser platforms at Siser North America everywhere. If you want to learn more about Siser specific or learn about some of the education that we're presenting and doing and I mean, I feel like Shelly and I get to do it. Last year was the first year we got to do a couple of events, but this year I feel like there's even more. So we're going to be doing more stuff together throughout the year as well. But you can always feel free, as well as if you want to follow me directly, Patrick Ali Siser NA on Instagram. So just Patrick Ali on Instagram. And you can definitely follow me there, and we can share a bunch of more Siser stuff. And there's millions of ways to find Siser. So it's hard to plug everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever you love to hang out, type in Siser NA for North America and you will
That's
find
it.
Yeah,
And you're going to find it.
That will lead you over to
Yep.
to Patrick. So, well, thanks so much. I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
on here. And
Of course. Thank you for
I
having
will
us.
see you guys over at the Cricut Adventure Summit, and I will talk with you soon, Patrick.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.